In today's fast-paced world, maintaining a balanced and nutritious diet can be challenging. However, the right food choices can profoundly impact your overall health and well-being, and that's what we're going to be delving into right after this. Welcome, everybody. This is the Life Enthusiast online radio and TV network. I'm your co-host, Scott Patton, and joining us as usual is Martin Patella. Hey, Martin, how are you doing today?
Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure, really.
Awesome. Good to have you. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about nutrient-dense foods, and these are foods that are going to be providing essential vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients to support a healthy lifestyle. And that's really what we're all about. We're here to restore vitality to you and to the planet. And really the root cause of a lot of our problems is our environment, what we breathe, what we drink, and what we eat, along with perhaps a sedentary lifestyle. So today we want to talk about the top 10 foods that you can eat. So Martin, before we delve into it, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, last time we talked about what we shouldn't eat. So I would say, just remember, the ugly things are refined. As long as they put the word refined on the product box, then it's really undesirable. And the second thing is, if it has a box and if it's sold not on the perimeter of the grocery store, it's probably, well, it's extruded, processed, over-processed. It's not natural enough.
Good tasting sawdust came to mind as you were talking.
That's wonderful. Right. So let's just dive into what matters, right? What should we eat?
So I put together a list, and I'm going to try to hold us to that list and just go through these 10 types of foods. The first one is leafy greens, salads. Could be spinach, could be kale, it could be cabbage. As I was putting this together, cabbage came up in my mind because it wasn't one that was on any of the lists that I was researching.
Right. Yeah.
And I thought, I loved cabbage rolls growing up. Had a strong Ukrainian, Polish communities in the city that I was growing up in, and I just thought they were delicious.
And they are, of course. Yes, I'll get to that in a moment, because the cabbage roll is primarily about the beef rather than about the cabbage. The cabbage is just a container. But in veggies, arugula, endives, lettuce, even dandelion greens, green onion, cucumber, those are all the low starch vegetables. And then there's the medium starch vegetables, which are things like broccoli, cabbage, carrot, I don't know what else comes in that, cauliflower, all the cruciferous, right? The Chinese cabbages, bok choy, su choy, and so on. Those are all great. They should be the number one on your list of all foods that you start with, always.
Cool. Well, number 2 on our list is the opposite of leafy greens, and that is the berries that come from bushes and trees and stuff like that. And blueberries is the number 1 favorite food for me.
For me too.
I love blueberries.
Yeah, my smoothies, I put an entire cup of blueberries into my smoothies.
When I go to the store or the market, whatever I buy for blueberries doesn't make it past midnight.
Yeah, right. Well, all the berries, right? Good stuff.
Yeah, there's good fiber in them too, right?
Yep, but their main claim to fame is all the colors, right? All the pigments, all the nutrients, and they're really good in antioxidant function. So, for sure.
And so you mentioned having them in a smoothie, just having them in a bowl after you wash them. It's pretty good.
Oh gosh, yeah, of course, snacky food.
And if you live in an area like I used to that has blueberry farms nearby, you can get your exercise as well. Get a couple buckets, go out to the farm, pick the berries. There are some blueberry farms too, by the way, that they want you to pick the berries, and I think they'll pay you a certain amount a pound or something. So you can be picking berries and eating them all for free, well, as long as you give a couple pails back to the farmer when you're done.
Yeah. Lovely.
The next one on my list is nuts: almonds, walnuts, pecans,
Right.
and
The
the one
the
in
caveat,
Hawaii, macadamia nuts was
right.
another.
The caveat with nuts: soak them before eating, because they are phytoestrogenic until you soak them. The enzymes disable when they start sprouting. That's what you need.
Okay.
And
So,
then seeds, right?
well, yeah, seeds is another item on our list. But before we get to that, like one of the things that you taught me was with almonds, put them in a bowl of water overnight, and in the morning you take the brown stuff off.
Yeah, you squeeze
So
them and they slither out of their little suits.
very easily, which is
Yeah.
a great family activity, right? You take a couple pounds and get all the kids and you're fiddling around with it. But why are we taking the brown off? Why is it important not to eat that brown stuff?
Oh, that's just because it's more delicious that way. I don't know what nutrients are in the skin, but what we do know is that the undesirables, the phytoestrogens, are in the skin. So that's why it's
Well,
coming.
that's what I thought you told me, was you don't want to eat it because it's got the phytoestrogen in it, which is not helpful.
Nope, turning boys into girls.
Yeah, we have enough of that going on. Thank you very much. All right, the next one is another favorite food of mine. It's kind of interesting how a lot of these foods in the list are things that I like to eat, and it's just really should be a matter of eating more of it and less of the box stuff. But
Right.
Next is salmon, and
Okay, sure. Well, meat in general, right? Meat in general is the highest density of nutrients available. The animal has processed the raw stuff wherever they found it, put it into itself, build its body. So when you are eating flesh foods, you are actually taking advantage of the leverage that the animal actually created, right? It's the most nutrient dense stuff you can get. And salmon, well, salmon is great because it's a cold water fish loaded with antioxidants and especially loaded with the omega-3 acids, the EPA and DHA. Those are important.
right. And then the other thing to be concerned about is whether you've got wild salmon or farm salmon. And the big
Right.
problem.
The concern here is the mercury. When you're feeding the salmon, the commercial fish feeding or whatever the heck they do, I think salmon are fed a fish paste or fish pellets that are made from all the non-desirable fish that get caught as a bycatch during deep water fishing, right?
Well, and the other issue is antibiotics, because they're
Yeah,
all
okay. They give them antibiotics and they sometimes stretch it with corn, which makes the salmon a little less, I don't know what, feedlot meat, right?
Yeah, and we're kind of used to cows sort of sitting in the field and pigs sitting in mud and, hens in barns and that sort of thing. So we don't always think about the difference between the food from an animal that is running around free or swimming around free and, and finding its own food and that sort of thing, and one that's sort of stuck in a pen. And I think that, when it comes to a lot of, what's that?
That's an awesome point. The density, right? Like when you have one chicken per 100 square foot of yard, it's no big deal. When you have one chicken per 1 square foot in a box, just stacked, or if you actually, not just that way, but if you stack them 10 high in little cages, all of a sudden you have this high density of animals. And you need to somehow prevent infections. And so you start feeding them antibiotics in their feed as a preventive, right? And that's the high density farming. And it's problematic in 3 ways, right? One is high stress on the animal. Two is introducing the antibiotic into the animal, where, I mean, this is giving rise to new antibiotic resistant strains of things.
And the antibiotic, does it end up staying in the, like, are we eating the antibiotics?
No, it's not that. But it may be on the surface. I don't know. Like when you butcher the chicken, when you defeather it, I don't know to what degree the new resistant microbes do or don't remain on the surface. They may, right? Like, it's hard to tell. I mean, when you butcher the chicken, you remove the guts. If you don't do it well enough, you end up with something on the surface, right? The feces smeared all over it. When you cook it, you have a pretty good chance of killing it. But if you undercook it, you don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get into the next one, there's a couple of things we just want to do for housekeeping. First of all, if you're enjoying this show and you want to know more and not miss any, head over to facebook.com/groups/Life Enthusiast Group, because that's where we interact with everybody. We want you to join us there and ask your questions and have some fun. Also, we're live every Thursday at 2:30 Eastern time. So make sure you mark that in your calendar and come and join us. And just wanted to also let you know that on Facebook and YouTube and other places that you will find us, unfortunately, the fact checkers and us don't necessarily agree on things. And we just recently actually got a 7-day restriction on our YouTube channel for something that we shouldn't have put up according to YouTube. So if you want to get the uncensored version, join us every Sunday on Telegram. And it's t.me/life and co, LIFENTCO. All right. And then if we have enough people joining us today, and when we're done, we'll take questions on anything you want to talk about. So make sure you stay till the end.
Right on. And so we're in the middle of talking about foods, right? The foods that you should eat. But when it comes to meats, the biggest challenge is factory meats, feedlot cattle, and battery raised chickens, and salmons in the pens. We were talking about salmon as a, wild caught. That salmon swam somewhere in the ocean freely before getting caught.
Right.
Not fed antibiotics and not fed concentrated strange food. That salmon caught his own food. Likewise, the chicken that you buy, the free range meadow running chicken, that chicken eats bugs and worms and whatever else is found on the meadow. Well, they probably will be fed some grain too, but the cattle, for example, there's a difference between grass-fed and grain-fed. And the grass-fed tastes gamier, tastes not, well, it's more intense, right? The grass-fed beef has this seductive flavor, and it has more of the fat marbling through the tissues, because this cattle has been contained, doesn't move much, and is fed grain, which is very high energy food to them. So they're gaining weight and gaining fat. And of course, it makes it taste nicer, but at the same time, it's definitely not healthier. Yeah.
It's definitely not healthier.
That's for sure.
There's no difference between what's running around.
What I'm saying, it's not healthier to eat feedlot cattle.
Okay. I heard the opposite, so I wanted to just check on that.
Yeah, no. I
think there's a huge difference between what, if a farmer and he raises some cows and he's got a huge field, and if they go in for slaughter and you're able to get a quarter or a half the cow, and they chop it up for you. I think that's way better than I lived in Prince Rupert, which is a fishing town, and I went out fishing with a friend of mine. And I caught a 40-pound salmon. And so we took it I worked at a grocery store. We took it to the butcher. They cut it all up and everything else. And then I took one of them down to Vancouver to see a friend. And I said, well, we'll barbecue this up. And he said, well, that's not enough for all of us. We need to go to the store and get another one. And so the one at the grocery store was a quarter the size of the one I brought from my salmon up north, right? It's just,
Yeah.
it was just, and it looked like the color wasn't very good. And it was just like, it didn't taste as good. It was just awful. So, if you can go and find people that care about the animals and treat them with respect and love and everything else, I think you're going to get a far better meal and far more nutrition.
Well, here's a really important political statement that you can make, and that's this. You are voting with your wallet all the time. Every time you go buy food, you are voting. Money is like oxygen in the system. So wherever you put your money, you are saying, make me more of that. So when you're buying unhealthy things, or when you're buying things that should never have been made, you're supporting the people that do the wrong thing. So just think about it. Consider your actions. The consequences are there all the time. Support the right thing.
Yeah. Good, really good point. And that also means you need to take time. Like we live in, I call it a McDonald's society, fast foods. You go in the store, they give you a burger in 2 minutes and you're out of the store. We throw things in microwaves, right? We want to do things fast, but really the way we're built is sitting around a fire with a spit and this rabbit or something going around the spit and telling stories under the stars. And we need to get back to that lifestyle a little bit more. I think.
For sure. It's opportunity to commune with others. Yeah.
So our next item is another one of my favorite, and I guess it's a fruit, even though it's found in the vegetable section of the grocery store, and that's avocados.
Yeah, the universal food. The only people who don't do well with avocados are people who have histamine problems. There are people with histamine problems. Avocado is high histaminic. Other than that, it's loaded with healthy fats, and it's rich in flavor, rich in nutrients. It's practically the ideal food. I would say if you can handle histamine, eating avocado with sauerkraut is probably the healthiest combo you can make. And I should mention fermented foods. They are not on Scott's list, but they're on mine. Fermented foods are awesome because they deliver into your body lactobacilli, the microbes that actually help digest food.
Right. Good point. All right. The next one on our list is sweet potatoes, which would, I think, also include, well, really tubers is what we're talking about.
Yeah, tubers is the general category. What you want is, now these are, of course, excellent sources of fiber. That's their main benefit. They are feeding the microbiome in your body. They are loaded with the oligosaccharides, the soluble fibers, insoluble fibers, and with it comes a whole bunch of starch. So don't overdo it, right? Especially if starch is not your friend. Tubers, this would be the sweet potato, is called yam, the orange one, or the yellow one, which is known as sweet potato. In this category, I would have jicama and turnip, and perhaps I should add here ginger and turmeric, although they are sort of also as.
And would you include carrots in this group?
Well, they are similarly starchy. Carrots, parsnips, leeks, they are on that sort of starchier than the low starch, as is onion and garlic.
So onion and garlic.
A lot of that.
What's that?
And we need a lot of that. Garlic and onion, we need a lot of that because they are delivering sulfur.
Right.
Yeah, important
Oh,
nutrient.
and it tastes so bad. No, not the garlic and the onion. Sulfur.
Yeah, when you take it as MSM, it's one of the most bitter darn things
Oh,
that you can
and
put in
I
your mouth.
tried and I just can't do it. I just can't do it.
Yeah,
So, but I love garlic, both in cooking and in smoothies and juices.
right on.
The next one is quinoa, and quinoa is kind of interesting in that it was came from like the Andes, South America, and that sort of thing. And it was a fad type of diet when it first came. Like it just came with a bunch of it's everyone's eating it sort of thing.
Mhm.
And when I went to Peru, I was talking to people about it, and they said, "Yeah, we don't eat it." And I said, "What? Why not?" "We can't afford it anymore. You guys buy it all up, push the price up, and now we have to find something else to eat." So another uh, consequence of our consumption is
Oh, these
impacting
rich.
other areas around the world. Just something else to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Not that I don't know if everybody stopped eating quinoa, if the price would go down or not, but certainly the local people that are growing it wouldn't sell it out, to some big distributor in the big city. They would sell it in their local market, but they're not doing it now because the local market will pay $1 a pound and the distributor will pay $20 a pound. And so
Not that you can buy quinoa for $5 a pound out here. So, but yeah, but even still, if it goes from $1 to $2, it's not no longer
it's a hardship for people that don't have that second buck.
right. Yeah. So
So,
in general, these friendly grains, right? Grains in general, chia seed, that's the food of the Aztecs, and quinoa, that's the food of the Incas, and buckwheat, that's the food of the Russian, Ukrainian, Eastern Europeans. Those are actually non grasses, right? Grass seeds is wheat, barley, rye. What else is in that category? Well, rice is a grass too, but it's the wheat, barley, and rye that are the most gluten rich, and those cause the most problems because gluten in general is not friendly to the human gut.
right. And in those seeds, there would also be like flaxseed, right?
Right. So if we switch now to seeds, we have flax, hemp,
Right. Hemp.
sunflower. Those are awesome. Like
Pumpkin.
flax seed is one of nature's most awesome foods, especially the golden flax. Flax is funny. You can buy the brown flax, which is also used industrially to make varnish, right? Like varnish is actually extracted from flaxseed oil. But anyway, so the flax seed, the golden flax seed, has a huge amount of omega-3 alpha linolenic acid, ALA, really, really good nutrient. It also is loaded with lignans. Lignans are fibers that are really important in your gut. And so taking something like 3 to 5 teaspoons of flax seed ground daily, ground fresh daily, is an awesome nutritional benefit to your body. And hemp seed is very similar to that. Hemp seed is usually available commercially cracked already
Right.
because of regulations. We can't sell a whole hemp seed because that could be planted and turned into, oh my god, the dangerous plant.
Right.
I guess I'm not going to mention it, but anyway, so you can buy it. I buy bags of hemp seed in Costco and put it in my smoothies. It's an awesome nutrient.
Cool. All right. The next one is I've got down Greek yogurt, but really this is where we have kefir and we have anything that's
Fermented foods.
fermented foods. Yeah.
Right. So you can ferment either lactose, which is in milk, or you can ferment starch, which is in cabbage and carrots and beets and whatnot. So the typical fermentation that makes sauerkraut or kimchi or whatever, that's the lactobacillus fermentation, and it's super desirable. And they are really resilient. You can do that at room temperature. It'll ferment no problem. Yogurt ferments only at body temperature. You actually need to ferment it at 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 37 centigrade, protected. And then, of course, what do you feed to the yogurt culture matters. So if you buy buffalo milk, awesome. Goat milk, sheep milk, all of that, that's a much better choice than the northern cow, the Holstein and Jersey and those, because many people are actually having trouble with dairy from that species. There is this protein in milk called casein, and there are several types of it, and some are closer to human milk and some are farther away. And the farther away ones are less easy to digest, and to some people it's just kryptonite. So goat milk, sheep milk, donkey, horse, and camel are way closer and way less trouble to the humans who have trouble with the northern cow milk. And so the southern cow, the buffalo, is fine. Like milk from India, people have no problem. They go to India, they eat all the paneer, which is the Indian yogurt they want, no trouble. They come back to the United States and they buy paneer from the store, and it's made with the northern cow milk, and they are allergic to it like you wouldn't believe.
That reminds me of your experience with bread, because you'll eat bread here and have a problem.
Yeah,
and then you went to Italy.
That was my trip to Italy, where they grow the grain, hard wheat, durum, the old school way. So their wheat is 4 foot tall, and it's not fertilized. It's not herbicided with glyphosate. It's just grown naturally. There actually is a prescription in Italy that dates back to the Roman Empire, so 2,000 years back. That's the way they grow the wheat. They call it grano, I guess, grain, right? Anyway, eating bread in Italy or pasta in Italy was no problem for me. If I come back and try to do that here, my face blows up like you wouldn't believe.
Right. Which is another reason why it's always good to travel, because you find how things are done in different places, and sometimes it's a big improvement. Or in your case, your eyes were like open to something that we really hadn't thought about.
Well, it makes me very sad that the industry in the United States does the stupid thing of making more money and killing us in the process. I mean, don't they get that they're actually killing the customer that's going to sustain them in the business, right? I mean, it just makes me so sad.
Well, we'll talk about this more on Telegram, where we don't have to worry about being revolutionaries and shut down.
Okay.
All right. Our second last one is broccoli, which of course is not just broccoli, it's cauliflower and actually cabbages and all that type of good cruciferous vegetables.
Yeah, these are the medium starch vegetables. And the cruciferous, what you want to know about that is they're goitrogenic, meaning that especially people with trouble of their thyroid need to be cooking these things. And you don't need to cook them to death until they're limp. You just need to treat them with heat. It just needs to go from this opaque color to the radiant emerald green on the broccoli, right? In onions, you go from opaque to translucent. In cabbage, you go from again stiff to limp, but not overcooked. Like, you don't need to stew the heck out of it until it's turned into a porridge. Not needed. Anyway, broccoli is awesome, loaded with nutrients. And broccoli sprouts, the most fantastic food in the world, loaded with diendolyl methane, DIM. Very beneficial in general health.
So let's talk for a sec. Let's go on a tangent for a second, because sprouting is also a really good way. There's alfalfa sprouts. We see a lot of those. Garlic sprouts. I've tried those. The broccoli,
Sunflower. Well,
sunflower.
every seed, right? Sunflower, chia. You can sprout lentils, peas, all kinds of things. The moment you sprout something, is you're changing the enzymatic culture of the seed. So the estrogenic dominance effect is gone. And if you let it grow a bit, all that energy that was stored in the seed is now pushed into the sprout, right? The sprout is not growing from the soil, it's just growing from itself. So the short, I don't know, 2-inch, 3-inch sprout is loaded with life force. You cannot find food that is more rich in nutrients than this.
Beautiful. And that's a really important point. All right. So the final one, but we do have a bonus. The final one is eggs.
Sure. Well, some people are allergic to eggs, chicken eggs, because chicken eggs are used as a culture to produce immune shots. So if you have gotten your childhood shots, you may theoretically be allergic to chicken eggs, in which case you would need to be switching to other eggs. The egg itself is nature's most ideal food. Again, much like a seed, the egg contains everything that would allow a new creature to grow from that. It's self-contained, right? Like in a human, when you're growing a baby, you have the placenta and the baby inside of the uterus, and you have a continuous supply of nutrients through the umbilical cord going into the child. In case of the bird, or whatever is reproduced by an egg, everything is in there like in a space capsule. It's a one-way ticket. So inside the egg is the most ideal food possible. So eating that is nutritionally the most wonderful thing you can do. So you may be forced to be eating duck eggs or quail eggs or some other eggs. Have an ostrich egg and feed a party of 12.
That's right. You have a friend with an ostrich farm not far from you, well, where you were in.
Yeah. You and I went there, visited, and got introduced to ostrich farming. That was quite interesting, really.
It was really, really fun. It really was. So, we've talked about a bunch of foods that you can have that are fairly dense nutritionally, that have got fiber, they've got a lot of things that you need. And we know that 90% of the people that watch this will probably end up still going and buying things in boxes. And so,
okay.
I kind of look at it like, there's some stuff that I just like to eat, even though I know it's probably not the best thing for me to eat. And one of the things that I feel is it's like a balance, right? You're eating some stuff you shouldn't be eating on this side. So what do you do on the other side? And to me, that is superfood blends. Like if I want to make sure that I'm getting the nutrition that I need, then I know that if I have a glass of a superfood every day, usually in the morning, to be honest, what I found is if I have it in the evening, I'm up till 2 a.m.
Yeah.
So,
let me sneak in a little statement in here, which is this. The superfoods you're talking about are loaded with these 3 other classes of foods we should mention, which is adaptogens, herbs, and sea algae and plankton. So these things, the algae stuff, that's like spirulina, chlorella, whatever. The sprouted grains or sprouted seeds are in there. The herbs that are in there, especially the adaptogenics, like the ashwagandha or eleuthero or holy basil, or there's a long list that we could come up with of important foods that enhance your life.
Right.
make your immune system work better, make your food to energy conversion work better, all these things. And that's what's in those superfoods.
And they're not like you can't really find them in the grocery store, right? So a lot of the stuff is sourced, wild crafted, and it's
Yeah.
just not the same.
Well, you can make your own. There are sources of bulk chlorella or spirulina or alfalfa or blah blah whatever, but it's kind of nice and convenient if you let us buy it at wholesale for you, mix it together. Like I remember going through a store, health food store, shopping for the ingredients in one of them, the iridescent, and the iridescent bottle is about $150 or $1 per teaspoon. And I remember I was halfway down the list and I was at $400.
Yeah.
So it's
difficult. I mean, and going back to, we live in a society where we want things fast and easy, and to go and try and source everything and then figure out a recipe for it, you're better off just to find a really nice superfood blend that you like. And we're going to talk about a few products, and I guess we'll start off with the superfoods. And this is the link for the Excella superfoods that we make.
Right.
And let's talk a little bit more about them for a couple minutes, Martin.
Well, so there are multiple types. Some are more energizing. We put them into the foundational class. That's the iridescent, pauertine, zoetine. When you have those, you should have them early in the day because they really will keep you going. They're not necessarily loaded with stimulants. They're just loaded with nutrition. They just wake you up. And then we have the calming types. They have the word aura on it, aura green, aura sil, aura max, aura fit. They are on the help you relax side. So if you find yourself too stimulated, or if you find yourself in the anxiety territory, taking those will be calming and helping you have a better existence, better day.
Right. And I put them in the comments, and they are in the description. So if you want to know, I mean, that was a long link, but if you click on that particular link, it'll take you to the whole line, and you can just scroll through. One of the things that's really different about our Life Enthusiast website is that, and I'll just put the link up to it, is we have tons and tons of information about the products. We have papers of research that's been done on the products and on the ingredients in the products. We have videos. We have what do you do? You get a bottle of green stuff, like what do you do with it?
Yeah.
And all that stuff, so that, and then you can certainly, there's a phone number on the site. You can certainly pick up the phone, call us. We answer the phone, and talk to us about your specific issues and making sure you get the right food for you.
Right on.
Okay, so the next one I want to talk about, because we had talked about seeds. Here's Andreas seed oils, and it's a hemp seed oil.
Right. So this is on the essential fatty acid side of things. Most people end up not getting enough. I promise it's not easy to get essential fatty acids. The omega-3s are in deficit. The common food eating American should have 3 times as much omega-3s as omega-6s, and it's usually 6 times too much omega-6 to 1 omega-3. So it's a problematic thing. So the good seed oils, flax, hemp, pumpkin, they are all available in the Andreas seed oil class, and they also have one called 5-seed blend, which is probably the quickest, easiest way to get a cost-effective, decent one.
Cool. And we had talked a little bit about the garlics and the turmerics and the ginger, and this is one of my favorite turmeric products.
Yeah, this is a good one, and it's actually liposomal. Turmeric is an interesting beast. It's totally ineffective when you take it on its own. It needs to be cooked or mixed with fat. It requires fat to be absorbed. The active ingredient of it, which is a really strongly orange pigment. Anyway, so turmeric in a liposomal package will be absorbed, or you need to cook with it, as in curry with coconut oil, or curry with ghee, or curry with a piece of meat, something, curry cooked with fat, or turmeric, of course, which is a main ingredient in curry.
Cool. All right. Well, we're coming to the end of our time together, and we've talked about some of the foods. I think you'll notice a huge difference in your health and your energy levels if you just make sure you've got these foods in your diet far more than you have now. And I want to also remind everybody that Martin's a health coach. If you have questions about your health, or you've questions, because we talk a lot about the fact that everybody's different, everybody's got different things going on. How you react to food is different than how your mom and dad may react to food. So we encourage you to go to Life Enthusiast, set up a meeting with Martin
or somebody else. I have 3 other coaches on the crew. I'm good, but I'm not the only one.
Right. And we'll help you with whatever it is that's going on in your health world. And so I put that in the comments as well.
Right on.
And the last thing is, don't forget to join us this Sunday on Telegram at noon Eastern. And we're going to be talking about things that we really can't talk about here. And there's also a very active community. We get lots of questions about what's going on with them, and we're happy to help you with yours as well.
All right. So that next thing, top 10 foods that destroy your heart. That's going to be on our next topic, huh?
That is. We'll talk about it on Telegram, and we're going to talk about it here because you're going to be a little more straightforward and tell it like it is on Telegram than you're going to be here, but we still want you to get that important information.
Right on.
Right. So thank you, Martin, for taking time out of your busy day to share this knowledge with everybody. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we'll see you next week.
Cheers. I can't tell. Do we have anybody asking any questions?
No questions, but we have 3 or 4 people that are still watching. So if you have certain health questions or questions about anything that we've been talking about, we're going to be around for the next 5 minutes. If you want to put them in the comments and let us know, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah. This thing is really supposed to be dynamic.
Oh, hi, Martin.
Hey, Martin. Nice to know that you have time to listen to me. Thank you.
Good to. Well, I was going to say good to see you. Not seeing you, but
yeah, he's got a picture of a really crazy car in there. Martin is an engineer and car buff and computer enthusiast and all of that.
We knew what you meant.
He's a cool guy. All right. Smoothies. Yeah. Well, one of these days we should do a show about smoothies, because what do you put in it, right? There are essentially 2 types of smoothies. The liquid salad, as in vegetable salad, and the liquid fruit salad. And so depending which type you are, some people like more savory. It doesn't really bridge too well. Maybe Granny Smith apple will bridge into a vegetable salad, but some people will just take a bunch of green parsley, some spinach, or romaine lettuce, or whatever you may have. Just shove it in, make a liquid soup.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it, because I don't really care for smoothies. I like juices, right? So there's 2 places where I am. One that does a beet, apple, ginger, and something carrot drink.
Yeah, ABC. Apple, beet, carrot, and the ginger is there for the zing, right?
Yeah, and I keep wanting to tell him to add more ginger. And then there's another place, and they do a carrot something, but they basically get, it's not juicing. They just basically put it into a blender and they blend it all up. And
so they don't extract it. You have it pulp and all. Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I'm not sure I really like that.
Yeah, carrot juice it's almost like candy. I mean, when you juice carrots, it comes out of it so sweet and so lovely.
Yeah.
So, of course, both you and I are the thyroid types. We both are attracted to carby foods. To you and me, carrot juice is just
wonderful,
a delight, right?
But you see, that's why I mix it with apple, which is probably another sugary thing.
Another sugar hit. And if you really want to push it, put some banana in it.
Yeah, and then you got beets when we have beet sugar. So it's
well, beets are not that sweet, but still, I get it. So, but there are people who like savory, right? And so they would go for cilantro and maybe throw a raw egg in it. And oh yeah, well, listen, raw egg is funny. If you don't think about it, it doesn't taste like anything. You're just giving yourself the most wonderful hit of protein without much of a penalty.
Right. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we seem to be done with our comments. Thank you to the two people that are still tuning in.
Thanks, Madden. I'll call you when I get a chance. Sorry, I'm on a live show.
And we'll see you next week. Bye for now.